What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I've now had this 2022 Cadillac XT5 Sport for a whole week, and today's video we're basically going to give you my final thoughts on it. We're going to talk about the car, take it for a quick spin, and then talk about, is this thing worth $70,000? There's of course a lot of competition at that price point, and we're going to get right into it with this new Cadillac. So then setting off now in this CT5 Sport all-wheel drive. This is pretty much fully loaded, top of the line, every single option, getting up over $70,000. So we're gonna first go over all of the things about this car that I've kind of liked and the highlights of it, and then really dive into the valuation and things like that. So I've driven this a little bit more than a half a tank of gas now, some highway, some city, around town and things like that. And I gotta say, I don't really have any complaints with this. Seems like a really smooth car. I've noticed it is exceptionally quiet and comfortable on the highway. So we're on 50 right now, and you just don't hear anything. Even on the highway going 75, 80 miles an hour over bridges and things like that, it is so incredibly quiet and well insulated. I was really impressed. I'm not used to being on the highway where I can hear myself think and just be in such comfort and quietness. It's really nice. The suspension is also extremely comfortable. We have a full adaptive suspension, so it's monitoring the road to keep everything super comfortable. And even taking sharper turns like this, it's a really composed vehicle. So that surprised me a lot. You know, when you look at the smaller SUVs that some luxury brands make, a lot of them really seem kind of cheap. It feels like just a Honda or a Toyota with some, you know, nice looking things around it, but you still feel like you're in a cheap car. This doesn't feel like that. It does feel like something really solid and above and beyond. The interior, it smells like leather in here. I wish you guys could smell what this thing smells like, but it is so nice in here. Everything you touch. I mean, this is all genuine leather. There's Alcantara, really cool carbon fiber in the polish trim. I mean, very well thought out interior. The navigation system is one of the easiest nav systems I've ever used. You literally hit nav and there's a little search icon. You hit search and you just type in your address just like in a cell phone. It can't get more easy than that. So many other car companies, you have to do like point of interest, this, that, the other thing. So many different ways to type it in. It gets a little annoying. This, it took 2 seconds to get to our destination last night. So easy to use. Along with that, we have amenities, the heated and ventilated seats. The air conditioning is super simple once again. It's just so right there, basic. I like how easy everything is and just how simple it is. Cruise control works super well. It's just really well thought out, and it has that level of attention to detail to where it surprised me a lot. You know, I was expecting this to just be a glorified Chevy, quite honestly, with some Cadillac stuff in it, but it really does feel like a solid car. Now, let's, as we come to a stop sign, we have drive modes. Let's go into the Sport mode, and we'll leave it in the automatic, and that will do the all-wheel drive because it's got an all-wheel drive system. Getting up to speed, and that's up to 50 miles an hour. It's not bad. You know, we do have a 300-something horsepower V6 engine, so I like that aspect rather than just having like a basic 4-cylinder. It's got plenty of get up and go. You know, you'll get up to the highway. It's never going to feel like a sluggish car. But with that said, let's talk about pricing now. This car as it sits is $70,000. For $70,000, you could also spend the same money and get a base model, basically, BMW X3M competition. So with 473 horsepower that you're gonna get in the X3M, I mean, that's what, 160 something horsepower more than this for the same money? That's kind of where I get a little iffy on, is this thing really worth 70 grand? The base price on this is around $55,000, and I think that's a fine price. When you look at the competitors, a normal X3, the Audi Q5, a nicely spec'd one with the same options is gonna be mid-50s. So 50, you know, 55 grand or so seems very well worth it. This car though has some options that I think are kind of a waste. There's a $2,000 night vision system in this car, and when you turn it on at night and use it, I don't see any benefit. You can't really see anything better than what you can see out of the actual windshield. I don't see the point of the night vision. It doesn't really do anything, and for $2,000, you're never going to use it. So right off the bat, you know, take that 70 grand sticker on this, take 2 grand off, so we're now at 68 grand. So with that said, it has the Platinum package as well, which is pretty much all this leather and a few things like that. I feel like that should kind of just be standard on a Cadillac, being what it is. And then there's a few more options. I'll show you the window sticker to see all the different options. I think most of the options kind of are a waste. I don't think you really need to spec this car out. I feel like most of it should just kind of be standard. And when you look at the competitors, you know, from BMW, you could also get the BMW X3M 40, which is kind of the mid-level. It's not the M, you know, the full-on sports one, but it still has like 380 horsepower, which is a lot more than what this Cadillac is going to have. And at that, you're spending a lot less. It's in the $60,000 range, and fully loaded, you know, you're going to get all the same luxuries, the same technology and everything for a significant chunk of money less than this Cadillac, and it still is faster and more powerful. And for the $70,000 mark, like I said, the X3M or a fully spec'd out Audi SQ5, those cars have real performance. They have a lot more power, a much better, snappier transmission. This one is a front-wheel drive biased drivetrain. So right now we're in two-wheel drive mode, which is front-wheel drive. In the mode button, you have your all-wheel drive mode, and then you can go down one more into the sport mode. And with this, it just doesn't really have that same performance. Using the paddle shifters from third gear, it doesn't really shift the same as like the 8 speeds you're gonna find in the Beamer or the Audi. It doesn't really have that performance shift logic. Some of these gears seem like they have the exact same ratio. So this isn't a performance car. It has huge Brembo 6-piston brake calipers up front, which are pretty much the same ones I have on my GTR. I don't really know why they have these brakes on this car. This is the Sport, so that's what you get with the Sport. But for a 310 horsepower naturally aspirated V6, I don't know why it has brakes that you're going to find on literally a high performance supercar or sports car. So that seems kind of overkill. And you know, if you're going to buy the XT5, I feel like the Sport trim level just isn't worth it because the engine doesn't really match everything else and the price. Like I said, the BMW, you have crazy brakes, differential, performance, horsepower, all that stuff to make it a really fun to drive fast car. And I don't think you're really sacrificing any of the luxuries. This car has all the luxuries, it's as smooth as you could possibly want, but it doesn't have the performance to really back up that 70 grand mark. So for me, I think the XT5 is a great option. I just don't know if I would really go for all the options, and I don't know if I'd really go for the Sport model, because if you're going to spend that much money on one of these and you're going for the Sport thinking, yeah, I'm getting performance in my car, I think the Germans kind of do a little bit better, giving you much more horsepower and better transmission options for that kind of money. This one, if you just get a normal trim level, non-sport, all-wheel drive V6 and spec it out, I think that's a pretty well-priced car, and you're going to get a lot to offer in that. You're going to get all the same luxuries and technologies that you're going to want, but you know, you're not spending the extra crazy money to get things that you really don't need in a car like this. Now, with all that said, I highly doubt I am Cadillac's target audience for this car. I'm pretty sure these are only being sold to probably 60-year-old plus women. This is a car that my mom would want, quite honest. She would probably really enjoy driving this, but I don't think she would spend 70 grand to get the sport stuff, especially knowing that, you know, the Europeans have a lot more horsepower and a performance feeling drive. So with this car, I think a nicely spec'd non-sport for mid-50s is going to be a fantastic bang for the buck, because the refinements and luxury levels are really top-notch. But at the same time, you know, the X3M 40i, same money, you still get more horsepower. An Audi Q5, you can get the plug-in hybrid, which has more power than this, better efficiency, same price, same options. So, I don't know, it feels like the Cadillac is kind of a car that people want a Cadillac. If you simply want a Cadillac, you're only going to buy a Cadillac. You're not going to go to a European car maker. And I can get that, you know, there's a lot of brand loyalty with this brand. I just think for the Sport model, they should have done something better with the engine and given us a twin turbo of some sorts. Basically, give us the engine out of like a CT4V, one of those or something like that, to make this have like 400 horsepower, to where that 400 badge on the back actually makes some sense. So I think that's the only thing kind of missing with this car at 70 grand, is it should have the engine to back it up. And when you look at the competitors, they have way more power and more performance feeling, and can still be just as luxurious as this. You know, the other competitors, I don't think are sacrificing any luxury to have the performance. This car has the same luxury, but it lacks that extra performance for the money. So at the end of the day, with the Cadillac XT5, I think it is a really nice crossover SUV to pick up. I really did enjoy it, and I don't have any actual complaints about the car. Everything works the way I want it to. It's roomy for being a smaller car. Really good on gas, quite honestly. It seems like it has a lot of range and pretty good efficiency. Really comfortable and refined. Just, if you're gonna drop 70 grand on it, I think it needs a lot more horsepower than that. So my recommendation, XT5, if you want a Cadillac, certainly buy one. Just don't get the sport model for 70 G's, just get a normal one, spec it out with all the luxuries, and have this be what it is, a nice luxurious smaller crossover, and plenty of power for that price in the mid-50s. I just can't see dropping the extra money on all the sport stuff. Not to say that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, having these Brembo brakes, it stops like nothing else, but at the same time I highly doubt normal brakes would really not perform as well, because you know, it's not that heavy, it's not that fast, doesn't really need that kind of braking system. So a few little things are a little overkill for the money on this without giving us the engine is kind of my basic thoughts, but interior is certainly spot on. But yeah, I think that is about it then. A 1-week review with the XT5, the 2022 model year. Pretty cool overall. It does look really sharp and it's been nice to drive. Just, I don't know if it's quite worth 70 grand without a faster engine. So maybe Cadillac turn this version into a V model, give us that engine from the CT4V, and then we're cooking at the 70 grand mark. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.